Hi, I'm Donna Jordan from Jordan Fabrics. Today I'm going to show you how to make a quilt called Star Power. This is a pattern from Cozy Quilt Designs that uses fat quarters for the patchwork. So I've got these really bright, vibrant cave facet prints. They'll be perfect. And I'm going to want to use a nice clear white background because these are so bright and so colorful, they will all stand out against this nice white background. Now this pattern comes with multiple sizes, which is one of the things I love about Cozy Quilt's patterns. We've got baby all the way up to king. Now I'm going to make the queen size, so I'm going to need 14 fat quarters, and I'm also going to need an accent fabric. Now for the accent, I want something that has a lot of contrast between not only the fat quarters, but the background also. So I'm going to use this grunge. It's a color called Bachelor, and it's a nice aqua turquoise blue. So the first thing we're going to do is pick out the 14 fat quarters that we're going to use. Now I know I'm going to like all of the prints. And you could use more than 14 if you want to get a bigger variety. Boy, they've really got this guy tied. That'll get it open. All right, so let's see. There's just a lot of bright colors here. So basically, I'm just gonna see if there's any that I don't care for as much or don't think will fit in. There's a lot of pink here, so I'm probably gonna pull some of those out, and then we'll make sure we get these darker ones. That one's very interesting. Love that. Wow, this is the hard thing with the cave facet bundles. I like all of them, but again, there's quite a bit of pink, so I think we will put some of these aside to use for a future project. So these ones here are all the ones I'm going to use, and I basically picked them because they all seem to have a little bit of the blue in them, and they will match nicely with the accent. Now these ones I'm not going to use in this quilt. We'll just put them aside for another project, and then we can get started. So the first thing to do is to take all the fat quarters, open them up flat, and iron them because we want them to be perfectly flat before we start cutting. Now they're all ironed up nice and flat, and all of the fat quarters are going to get cut exactly the same. It's not my pattern, so I can't give you all the sizes to cut them, but Cozy Quilt Designs patterns are very, very easy to follow. Everything is all cut out, and I've gone ahead and cut the accent pieces we needed and the background. And the first sewing step we're going to do, take one of the accent and one of the background strips over to the sewing machine. So we're going to sew these right sides together. Let's open them up. It doesn't really matter which is on top and which is on the bottom. Just line up these ends here. And we're going to stitch down each side of this with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So try to not stretch either one, just place them carefully on top of themselves. I'm just going to turn it around and sew down this side now. So now we've got a little strip tube, which we are going to take back to the cutting board. Now we're going to take a triangle ruler. I'm using the strip tube ruler, but you can use any ruler that's got a 90-degree angle. You can even use your 6-inch ruler here if you put a tape along the line that you need to cut on. So you don't have to have the special ruler. I just find it's a lot quicker if you do. And we're going to line up the 3-inch line here on the stitching, not on the raw edge, right on the stitching, and we're going to make 2 cuts. Now when we open this up, we have a very nice half square triangle, and it's exactly the right size we needed because we cut it after it was stitched. Now we'll set that there. Now we're just going to take our ruler and turn it around, and again put that 3-inch line on the stitching line and make another cut. Now we've got another half square triangle. So I'm going to keep turning this and cutting and cut up the whole strip. Now we are going to want to iron these flat. So we want to do half of them with the seam allowance toward the dark. So I'm just going to peel it open, press it dry, and then a little steam. So half of them with it going towards the dark, and then half of them with the seam allowances going towards the light. And that's because it's going to make it easy when we put these together later on to have our seam allowances going in opposite directions. So see how this seam allowance is going that way, this one's going that way, so then when they come together, it's easier to get them to match. The last step is to trim off any of these little dog ears here. And I just like to use scissors right here at the ironing board. Once those are all done, you're going to have a lot of the background strips left over. And I took each strip and I just split it right along the fold so that each one is now the same length as these strips we cut from the fat quarters. And we're going to take all of these over to the machine. We're going to use the exact same procedure we did with the background and the accents, but we're going to use one background and one strip here. The only difference is these are only half as long as the ones we did earlier. But stitch down the one side and then stitch up the other side. Once those are all done, we're ready to start making our blocks. So get 2 of these half square triangles that are the same print. And then from these squares here, we're going to find that same print. Here it is. So it's the same one. And we're going to use one of these guys here. And here's how we lay it out. That's in the corner. The background pointing towards the middle. And then this background also pointing toward the middle. So that's the basic block we're going to make. So let's take these over to the sewing machine. So that's how they're going to fit together. So when I have 4 blocks like this, here's how I like to stitch it. I'm going to put those right sides together and these right sides together, and I'm going to stitch down here and leave it on the machine and then grab that one. So let's slide them a little closer, put this one right under. And then we'll put this one under here. And they're all exactly the same size now, so it's pretty easy to get them stitched together. And I'm going to leave them attached like that. And now we're going to press these seam allowances in opposite directions. So the first one, I'm going to go that way. And I'm just going to finger press it. So that's going that direction. Now this one we want to go in the opposite direction. Now this one, it's all bias along here, so I'm just going to kind of squish it rather than pulling it like that because I don't want to stretch it. So I'm just going to kind of smash it down. Now I can put them right sides together, and those seam allowances are going in opposite directions and they'll nest, and it's real easy to get that intersection matched. Nice. Now let's take this over to the ironing board and let's press this seam here up. Again, I'm just going to kind of smash it and not stretch it as I press it nice and flat. All right, that block is all done, and this is 1/4 of the star patchwork block we're going to make. Now, when we made all these half square triangles, we ironed half of them with the seam going towards the dark, and half of them with the seam going towards the light. So this guy here, if you look at the back side, these half square triangles, the seams are going towards the dark, and this guy here, the seam is going toward the light. So I'm going to make half of my blocks ironed exactly like that. Then I'm going to make some more blocks. Now they look just the same, but the seam allowances are going in the opposite direction. So we've got seams towards the light here and towards the dark here. And this will help you out later on when we put these together, because when we sew this seam here, these seam allowances are laying in opposite directions, as are these. And so it's going to make a lot less bulk here when we sew it together. So if yours don't end up like that, or they're facing the wrong way, it's not a big deal. The patchwork is still going to work. But if you're careful with your ironing, you can get the quilt to lay a little bit flatter. Once you've got all those blocks made, you're going to grab 4 different printed blocks. And I've got 2 blocks that were ironed the one way, and 2 blocks that were ironed the opposite way. So these 2, they're going to go in opposite corners. Then these 2 guys, they're going to go in the other opposite corners. So this accent is going to meet in the middle here. Now all we have to do is stitch it both ways like that. So I'm going to put them right sides together. And let's stitch down here. We'll leave that on the machine and slide this over. And again, because we were careful with our ironing, the seam allowances right there are facing in opposite directions, so we're going to have a lot less bulk. Now we'll open these up. And it doesn't matter which way you do these, but we're going to do this seam that way and this seam in the opposite direction. And again, be a little bit careful when you finger press these that you don't stretch it, because it is all bias and you can distort it by stretching it there. Now we can match all these up, and again, all the seam allowances will be laying in opposite directions. There we go, that turned out really nice. Once you're done with all those star blocks, there's only one other kind of block to make. So we've got all our other pieces here. One in the center, the background, then it's going to get an accent on the top and bottom, and it's going to get 4 background corners, and then we're going to find 2 of the same print here to go on the sides. So there's that one. And it's in here somewhere. There it is. And these are very easy to sew up. You can make them in separate rows, or you can sew these 2, keep it on the machine, these 2 and these 2, and then add these ones here and press all the seam allowances toward the dark. All of the blocks are done, and now we're ready to lay out the quilt. So basically we're going to alternate both of these kind of blocks. So the first row is going to get a star, and then we're going to do an accent block with the accents on the sides, another star, accents on the sides. Now I'll keep going, but the next row we're going to start with this block, but instead of having them facing this way, we're going to turn them. So I'm still going to alternate the blocks with the stars and these blocks, but I've turned them now. Next row, again, start with a star, and we're going back to this block facing up. Now we are starting to see a little bit of a secondary pattern come out. So this star here, it's got 4 of the accents all around, extending it out. Then we've got other stars, like this one here. It has 4 prints all around it. And so we will see more of that come out as we keep laying out the quilt. So I'm gonna get all the blocks laid out, I'm gonna get the borders on, and then I can't wait to get this onto the quilting machine. Now that the quilt is on the machine, we need to pick a thread color. There's so many bright colors in here that I really could use almost any color. So these lighter ones, they will blend in. So let's take a look at this. So this light peach, on the white, it's not going to show at all, and it's going to show a little on there. Same thing with this. This is very compatible. It's going to blend right into that bachelor colored grunge and the white. I really feel like I would like to use something a little bolder since we're using these K facet prints. Now that's going to show up nicely there. It's going to blend in with the darks. So I think I will try this nice turquoise today. For the quilting pattern, I've chosen one called Deb's Swirls. It's got some kind of pointy things, swirls. It's a nice even overall pattern, and that won't fight with the busyness we've got in all the fancy K facet prints. The Star Power quilt is all done. This is the perfect pattern for those brilliant K facet prints. It really highlights them. The background looks good, even with the blue color thread. I never know when I use a dark thread if I'm gonna like it or not, but I really do like the quilting showing on here. I love the accent color. I like everything about this. So if you're gonna make this pattern, you want to use dark prints here and light here. You want to have a big contrast. Now let's see what this looks like on the back side. You can barely see a hint of the quilting on this pebbly print here, but it looks really good. I like those swirls. It's nice and abstract. Now the queen size, it's 87 by 97, so it's nice and big, and I just couldn't be happier with how it turned out. Thanks for watching our tutorial today on how to make this Star Power quilt. We hope you enjoyed it. Now at the end of every video, we do a giveaway. And today we're going to give away 2 quilts. These are wall hanging size. We've got a nice star quilt here. It's called Moda Love. It was all made with charm squares. We did a video that showed you how to make it. It's got really intricate quilting all over it. Lots of fun. And the second one you might win, it's these floating stars. We did a video to show you how to make this one too. Same quilting pattern, all this little scrolly work, a nice red binding. Ooh, even the back looks good. So it's very easy to enter the giveaways. All you have to do is click that link right below this video that says giveaway, and you put in your email address and your name. And remember, we can send these winning quilts to any address in the world. So good luck. Now, if you like our tutorials and you want to support us, the best thing you can do is subscribe to our YouTube channel. That would really help us out. Happy quilting!